All right, so today we're going to dive deep into a couple of verses from the Gita for joyful living.
Okay.
And these verses are really fascinating.
Yeah.
They really kind of blew my mind, to be honest with you.
I know, right?
We're looking at chapter 2, verses 29 and 30.
Okay.
And these verses bring this idea of Atman together with this idea of joyful living.
Yeah, it's all about like how intelligence can help us achieve a life.
Right, a life completely free from suffering.
Without any suffering. That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the Gita doesn't really sugarcoat it.
Nope.
It says that understanding Atman
Right.
is not easy for everyone.
Oh, it's a tough one.
Yeah, and it even calls this understanding both the easiest and the hardest knowledge to grasp.
Right? How can something be...
Yeah, how can something be easy and hard to understand at the same time?
It's a paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, think about how we typically learn.
Okay.
We learn about the world outside of us, right?
Yeah.
Like we learn geography, we learn history, we learn science. And there's always this distinction between the knower,
The knower.
that's you,
Okay, me.
and the known.
Yeah.
That's like the subject you're learning about.
So like the thing that I'm studying.
Exactly.
Right.
But with Atman, the Gita says there is no separation.
Whoa.
The observer is the observed.
Whoa.
It's like trying to look at your own eyes without a mirror.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I see what you mean.
Yeah.
So because we are Atman,
Right.
it should be easy to know.
Exactly.
But our minds are so used to...
Well, our minds are so used to looking outward.
Yeah, we're looking out there all the time.
Focusing on external things.
Yeah.
That trying to turn that focus inward,
Yeah.
can be really, really challenging.
So it's like super hard.
Yeah, it can be.
Okay. And so that's where this idea of intelligence comes in.
Right. The Gita suggests that the level of our intelligence
Okay.
determines how much we can separate our true self from all those external factors we cling to.
The things we cling to.
Our possessions, our relationships, even our bodies and minds.
Yeah. I mean, we really do cling to that stuff, don't we?
We do.
Okay. So you're saying the more intelligent we are, the better we are at recognizing that our true self,
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
Atman,
Right.
is distinct from all those things.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Okay.
And the source even provides this great analogy to illustrate this.
Okay. I'm interested.
It compares us to a rich man
A rich man.
who gets offended when his assistant is insulted.
Really?
The man's ego
Oh,
is so wrapped up in his possessions and his status
right.
that he can't even distinguish between an insult to himself
Oh,
and an insult to something he owns.
so he's taking it personally,
Exactly.
even though it's not even directed at him?
It's directed at something external to him, something he owns.
Right.
But he can't separate
Oh,
those
no,
two
no.
things.
They separate.
In his mind,
Right.
his assistant is an extension of him.
So it's like we get so attached to these external things that we start defining ourselves by them
Exactly.
instead of recognizing the Atman within.
That's exactly it.
Like it's all about like our jobs and our possessions,
Yeah.
our relationships. Like if any of that stuff is insulted, then we feel insulted.
Right. It's like an attack on our identity.
Yeah. And you're saying that that's why,
Yeah, that's why.
according to the Gita,
Right.
the less intelligent we are, the more we suffer.
The more we suffer
When those external things are lost or threatened.
is because we've essentially confused those things with our own selves.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we're so attached to those things
Yeah.
that we can't even imagine ourselves without them.
It's like they've become a part of who we think we are.
Yeah, I'm starting to see now how this whole idea of Atman ban ties into the idea of joyful living.
Yeah.
Because if we're constantly defining ourselves by these external factors,
Right.
we're always going to be on this like roller coaster of emotions.
You're setting yourself up for a bumpy ride.
Right.
Yeah, because your happiness is going to be dependent
Yeah.
on things that you can't control.
Right. And the Gita is saying a true lasting joy,
Right.
the kind that's completely free from suffering,
Yes.
comes from understanding that we are not those things.
Exactly.
We are Atman,
You got it.
which is eternal and unchanging.
And always there.
Yeah.
It's a part of you that can never be taken away.
Oh, that's really interesting.
It is, isn't it?
It's like once you realize you have the key, you don't have to keep banging your head against the wall anymore.
That's a great analogy.
But the Gita also acknowledges that not everyone's going to reach that realization, right?
That's right.
Right.
Not everyone's ready for that.
Yeah.
It's a process.
Yeah, so the Gita is very clear that this understanding of Atman,
Right. The self-knowledge.
Yeah.
It isn't something that everyone can just grasp right away.
No.
Some people might hear about it.
Yeah.
And they might find it completely illogical.
like, what are you talking about?
Right. And that the source explains comes down to varying levels of intelligence
Intelligence.
and what it calls mental maturity.
Mental maturity. So there's something else going on here,
There's something more to it.
besides just like book smarts, right?
It's not just about IQ.
Right.
It's about something deeper.
So it's like our minds need to be developed or
Yeah.
mature enough,
To be able to handle these big concepts.
yeah, to grasp such a profound concept.
Absolutely.
Okay, and this is where Krishna's teachings in these verses become so important.
Yeah, that's where it gets really interesting.
Okay, so let's unpack these verses.
All right, let's do it.
What is Krishna trying to convey here?
So in these verses, Krishna is essentially highlighting the paradoxical nature of Atman.
Okay,
He says that for those who can grasp it,
right?
the concept of Atman is truly amazing.
Amazing.
It's this eternal, indestructible essence that resides within each and every one of us.
It's within us.
Yeah, it's a part of us.
Okay, but at the same time, he's also saying that not everyone's going to be blown away by this concept.
Right, some might even dismiss it as nonsense.
Like, it's just crazy talk.
Exactly.
And why is that?
Because understanding Atman requires a shift in perspective.
A shift.
That can be really difficult for the mind to make.
Our minds just don't want to go there.
They're so used to thinking in a certain way
Right.
that it's hard to break out of that mold.
So even with all the intelligence in the world, you might not be able to grasp this concept of Atman.
Right, if you haven't developed a certain level of, let's call it inner maturity.
Inner maturity.
Yeah, that mental preparedness.
Okay, so it's not enough to just be intelligent in the conventional sense.
Right, it's not just about book smarts.
There's something more at play here.
There's something deeper.
This idea that our minds need to be developed or mature enough to grasp this profound concept.